Alana Reed didn't even see the tray slipping until it was too late. 1 second, she was weaving through the crowded rooftop restaurant with practiced ease, dodging champagne flutes and birthday candles, and the next, her heel caught on a guest's purse strap, her balance snapped, and the entire tray of cocktails tipped forward in a glittering arc. Glass shattered. Liquid splashed. People gasped. Alana's heart slammed into her ribs as she stumbled forward, trying to catch herself, only to collide, hard, into a woman who looked as if falling was something that should only happen to lesser beings. Evelyn Harrington stood as still as marble despite the impact, her immaculate suit absorbing droplets of spilled rosé as Alana choked out frantic apologies. Her braid swung across her face as she bent down to collect glass shards, hands shaking, cheeks burning. But Evelyn wasn't looking at the mess. She wasn't looking at the ruined drinks or the startled guests. Her icy gaze was locked on something else. Something small, gleaming, and hanging from Alana's neck. A silver pendant, heart-shaped, worn and slightly tarnished from years of being touched without thinking. Evelyn's breath hitched so sharply it sounded like a gasp stabbed through her throat. Her hand lifted without permission, fingers trembling as they approached the necklace as if afraid it might vanish. "Where?" Evelyn whispered, her voice stripped of its legendary confidence. "Where did you get that?" Alana froze. She'd worked here long enough to know Evelyn Harrington didn't ask questions. She issued commands. She gave orders. She spoke with the cold precision of someone accustomed to being obeyed. But now, her voice cracked, her eyes glistened. Something raw and broken flickered beneath her polished exterior. Alana's instinct was to pull back, but her body refused. The intensity in Evelyn's stare pinned her in place. I've had it since I was a baby," Alana said cautiously. "It was found with me." Evelyn's pupils narrowed. "Found with you?" "Yeah, uh, I was abandoned at a bus station bathroom. CPS said this necklace was the only thing left with me." She tried to laugh, but it came out thin and shaky. "Guess it was supposed to mean something." Evelyn stepped closer. Too close. Her perfume was sharp, floral, expensive. Her face had gone pale beneath immaculate makeup. "You said bus station bathroom?" "Yes." Alana stood slowly, unsure whether she was supposed to finish cleaning or run away. "Look, ma'am, I'm really sorry about the drinks. I'll comp the bill, or—" "What's your name?" Evelyn cut in. Alana Reed." "What foster agency handled your case?" Alana blinked. I don't know." "Why?" Evelyn didn't answer. Instead, she turned and stormed out of the restaurant, leaving a room full of stunned guests, a mortified waitress, and a mystery heavy enough to choke the air. Alana stood frozen for several long seconds, her nerves buzzing with confusion. She touched the pendant without thinking, rubbing her thumb across its familiar grooves. She'd done that since she was 9 years old, the day she learned it was the only thing connecting her to whoever abandoned her. But nothing about Evelyn's reaction felt normal. It felt like recognition. And that terrified her. When her shift ended, she walked home with her mind spinning. She couldn't shake the look in Evelyn's eyes. It wasn't anger. It wasn't annoyance. It was grief. And something like disbelief. The next morning, a black car waited outside her building. A sleek, silent vehicle that did not belong anywhere near her rundown apartment complex. Her heart stuttered as a man in a sharp black suit stepped out. "Miss Reed?" he asked. "Yes?" "Ms. Harrington requests your presence. Immediately." Alana's stomach tightened. Every instinct screamed danger, but curiosity overpowered fear. Evelyn Harrington was one of the most powerful women in Chicago. People didn't say no to her. And after last night, Alana needed answers. The car drove her through the wealthiest parts of the city, past gated mansions and manicured lawns, stopping at a glass-walled penthouse perched above Lake Michigan like a cold, modern castle. The elevator opened directly into Evelyn's home, and for a moment, Alana felt like she'd stepped into another world, a world where pain didn't exist, or maybe it existed too deeply to be spoken about. Evelyn stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, arms folded tightly. Her eyes were rimmed with exhaustion, as though she hadn't slept. When she turned, Alana braced herself. "Sit," Evelyn said quietly. Alana sat. Evelyn walked over to a drawer, slid it open, and pulled out a delicate white envelope. Her hands shook as she opened it and removed a photograph. She didn't show it at first. She simply stared at it, her expression cracking around the edges. "My daughter," she whispered. "She died 25 years ago, in childbirth." Alana swallowed hard. "I'm sorry." Evelyn nodded, as if expecting nothing less from a stranger. "She had a baby," Evelyn continued. "A little girl. But the hospital told me she didn't survive. They claimed her oxygen levels dropped, that she never breathed long enough to cry." Alana's fingers tightened around the pendant. Evelyn finally looked up. "They lied." Alana's pulse stuttered. "What are you saying?" "That necklace," Evelyn whispered, stepping forward and finally turning the photograph toward Alana, "was custom made for my daughter. I had one crafted for the child, my grandchild, a matching pendant." Alana stared at the old photograph. A baby swaddled in a floral blanket, a tiny silver heart pendant resting on her chest, shining, identical. Her vision blurred. "That," Alana choked, voice cracking. "That looks like—" "It is yours," Evelyn said. "You were not abandoned randomly. You were stolen." The room spun. Oxygen thinned. Alana pressed a hand to her forehead. "No. No, no, that's—" She stood abruptly. "That's impossible. I'm not— I'm not from a family like this. I grew up in group homes. I slept on broken beds. I've never even had a birthday party, and now you're telling me I'm—" "My granddaughter," Evelyn said softly, as though forcing the words past years of denial. "Alana, you are her." Tears stung Alana's eyes. Not the good kind, the kind that hurt, the kind pulled from years of bruised memories. "This doesn't make sense," she whispered. "It will," Evelyn said. "But I need proof. And so do you." A DNA test. That word hovered between them like a knife. Evelyn reached out with a steadying hand but stopped before touching her. "I can help you," she said. "I can help you understand what was taken from both of us." Alana didn't know whether to scream, cry, or run, but a part of her, a quiet, aching part that wondered who she was all her life, forced her to nod. "Fine," she whispered shakily. "I'll take the test." Evelyn exhaled in visible relief. They drove to a private clinic where blood was drawn quickly, quietly, professionally. No waiting room. No questions. Just 2 samples and a promise of answers. On the car ride back, silence sat thick between them. Alana stared out the window, twisting the pendant until her fingers ached. "What if it's true?" Evelyn murmured, almost to herself. "What if it's not?" Alana whispered. Neither could breathe. For the next 3 days, Alana lived in a state of suspended reality. She worked her shifts. She tried to study. She barely slept. Every sound made her jump. Then the call came. Her phone buzzed with an unknown number. Her heart lurched as she answered. "Miss Reed?" The clinic's director said. "We have your results. You should come in." She arrived to find Evelyn already waiting, hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. The director handed them a sealed envelope. Evelyn hesitated. "Do you want to open it?" Alana shook her head. "You do it." With trembling fingers, Evelyn tore the paper. Her eyes darted across the page. She gasped. Then tears spilled down her face. Elegant, controlled, devastating tears. It's you, Evelyn whispered. It's really you. You're my granddaughter. Alana felt her knees weaken. She grabbed the chair beside her before collapsing. Her chest tightened, breaking open with 24 years of unanswered questions. I don't know what to feel, she said, voice cracking. I should be happy. I should be angry. I should feel something. You're allowed to feel everything, Evelyn whispered. But Alana couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't absorb the truth that her entire life was built on a lie. She backed away slowly. I can't do this right now, she choked. I need time. And then she fled the clinic, Evelyn calling her name, desperation in her voice. Alana didn't look back. She ran as though her past was chasing her. Because for the first time, it was. Elena didn't sleep that night. She lay on her back staring at the ceiling of her tiny Detroit studio apartment, her mind replaying Marcus Hale's face again and again, the sharp inhale he took when he saw her necklace, the way his hands trembled, the tears he tried and failed to hide. She didn't know whether to feel scared, confused, or strangely connected to him. All she knew was that nothing about this day made sense. 1 minute she was refilling water glasses, the next she was being told she might be the missing piece in a multi-million-dollar family tragedy. But what hit her hardest wasn't the money, it was the word he used. Granddaughter. She covered her face with both hands and exhaled shakily. She didn't have a family. Not in the way people meant the word. The foster homes she'd lived in never lasted. Some were kind. Most were not. But none stayed long enough for her to feel rooted. Her life had been shaped by transition, by the feeling of being almost claimed and then quietly returned. So hearing a stranger say that she belonged somewhere, belonged to someone, felt like a shock to the system. Her alarm buzzed at 4:45 a.m. She dragged herself out of bed, washed her face, tied her hair, and headed to her second job at the early morning bakery. She needed the money. She didn't have time for a billionaire's emotional breakdown or mysterious necklace drama. But as she sprinkled powdered sugar over a tray of croissants, she felt her hands shaking. What is wrong with me? She whispered to herself. Every time she blinked, Marcus Hale's voice echoed. These initials? Where did you get this? She wanted to ignore it, pretend yesterday hadn't happened. But deep down, something in her chest, something old, buried, forgotten, was waking up. When her shift ended at 9 a.m., she checked her phone. 3 missed calls from an unknown number. 1 voicemail. Her heartbeat tripped. She played it. Elena, this is Marcus. Please meet me today. There's something you need to see. Something that I owe you. His voice cracked mid-sentence. She ended the message and stood frozen, a dozen emotions crashing through her at once. Fear, curiosity, anger, hope. She hated that last one the most. Elena clocked out and went home to shower. She didn't tell anyone where she was going because she didn't have anyone to tell. She dressed simply. Black jeans, a clean white tee, and her necklace. The only thing she'd kept from childhood. The Uber dropped her in front of Hale Tower, a glass giant cutting the sky like a knife. She stood at the base, staring upward, feeling impossibly small. The revolving doors swished open as if welcoming her. A man in a suit greeted her immediately. You must be Elena Ward, he said. Mr. Hale is waiting. Of course he was. She was led through corridors of marble and gold, through an elevator that rose so quickly her stomach dipped, and finally to a private floor where double doors stood open. Marcus was inside, staring at a wall-sized digital display showing dozens of old newspaper clippings. When he turned and saw her, he froze, like he didn't quite believe she'd actually come. Thank you, he said quietly. I'm only here because I want answers, Elena replied, her voice steadier than she felt. And you'll have them, he promised. He gestured for her to sit. She stayed standing. He took a breath, bracing himself, and clicked a remote. The screen shifted. A younger woman appeared, a black woman in her late 20s with soft brown skin, a wide smile and eyes full of mischief and light. Her hair was pulled back into thick curls. She wore a hospital gown and held a newborn wrapped in a pink blanket. Elena felt her heart punch against her ribs. "This is her," Marcus whispered. "This is Nicole, my daughter." Elena stepped forward involuntarily. Her eyes locked on the woman's face, and the world around her dimmed until all she could see were those features: her nose, her cheek shape, her smile. Elena didn't realize her hand had risen to her mouth until her breath hit her fingers. She didn't dare turn toward Marcus. She didn't want him to see her breaking. "She died a few hours after childbirth," he continued softly. "And the baby, your mother's child, was taken from the hospital." "She wasn't taken," Elena murmured, voice trembling. "She was abandoned. Someone left me in a public restroom." Marcus's jaw clenched, grief and fury twisting his face. "Yes," he said, "left with only one thing." He clicked again. The screen showed a close-up photo of the original heart-shaped necklace. Same shape, same chain, same engraving. Except newer, untarnished, shiny. ECW. Elena's breath stuttered. Marcus walked to a drawer and pulled out a small box. Inside, cushioned in velvet, lay a second identical necklace. Aged, slightly bent, clearly worn once upon a time. "This was your mother's," he said. "She had two made during her pregnancy. One for her child, one to keep. She died wearing hers. And the other one should have been given to you." Elena touched her own necklace instinctively. "That means mine is a replacement," he finished. "A cheap copy someone bought to mimic the original. Whoever abandoned you wanted you found, but not traced." Elena's knees weakened. She dropped into the nearest chair before she collapsed. Marcus sat across from her, his expression raw. "I didn't know you existed until yesterday. I wish I had known. I wish to God someone had told me." Elena pressed her shaking hands against her face. She couldn't stop the tears this time. They came silently, spilling through her fingers, dripping onto her jeans. She didn't cry pretty. She never had. Marcus didn't move, didn't speak. He simply let her fall apart. When she finally lowered her hands, he handed her a tissue without looking directly at her, giving her dignity in her vulnerability. "Elena," he said gently, "I ordered a DNA test last night. It's waiting at the lab. I know what the results will say, but legally and formally, we need proof." She stared at the table. "Why me?" she whispered hoarsely. "Why now?" He leaned back, exhaustion heavy on him. "Because someone stole my granddaughter," he said, "and I've spent 27 years being told she was dead. But the moment I saw your necklace, the moment I saw you, a part of me woke up that I buried a long time ago." She swallowed hard. "You keep calling me your granddaughter," she said quietly. "But what if the DNA test says otherwise?" "Then I'll accept it," he replied. "But it won't." His certainty terrified her. He slid a folder toward her. Inside were hospital records, news articles, police reports, photos of the maternity ward, and one blurry security camera still image of a woman in scrubs carrying a newborn down a hallway. Elena stared at that image for a long time. "Who is she?" she asked. "We don't know yet," Marcus said. "But we will." His voice hardened. "And she will answer for everything." Elena closed the folder slowly. "This is too much," she whispered. "I came here for answers, not a whole other life." Marcus lowered his eyes. "You deserved better," he said, "and I can't change the past, but I can help uncover the truth. And you deserve to know your story." Silence stretched between them. Elena took a long breath and stood up. "Fine," she said. I'll do the DNA test. After that, we'll see. Relief washed over Marcus so visibly it almost made her feel guilty. Almost. He escorted her to the private elevator. Neither spoke until they reached the lobby. Elena, he said softly before she stepped out. No matter what happens, whatever you need, financially, emotionally, legally, I will support you. She met his eyes for the first time since the video of her mother. They were the same eyes she saw in the mirror every day. She hated that it mattered. Don't make promises you can't keep, she said. I don't, he replied. As she left the building, she felt eyes on her. Someone was watching. A black SUV parked across the street, tinted windows, engine running. Elena slowed, but when she turned, the SUV pulled away slowly, too slowly. A chill ran down her spine. She hurried into a crowd of pedestrians and blended in, but her heart hammered violently. She didn't know it yet, but the moment she stepped into Hale Tower, someone else was notified. Someone who'd kept a secret buried for almost 3 decades. Someone who wasn't about to let the truth come out now. And Elena, unknowingly, had just triggered a chain reaction she couldn't stop. Elena walked fast, weaving through people on the sidewalk as if motion could quiet the storm in her chest. She didn't stop until she reached the bus stop a few blocks away, where she finally sat down on the cold metal bench and tried to breathe normally. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Elena felt her stomach drop. She blocked the number immediately. She didn't have room to deal with strangers texting her cryptic messages on top of everything else. The bus arrived. She boarded, took a seat near the back, and pressed her forehead to the window. Detroit blurred past in smears of gray and blue. She wondered if anyone could tell she was changing, being rearranged from the inside out. By the time she got back to her apartment, she was exhausted. She locked the door, dropped her bag, and sank onto the bed. She should have gone to work at her night shift. She needed the money desperately. But she couldn't move. Her body felt like someone had replaced her bones with wet sand. She lay there fully clothed, eyes fixed on the ceiling, replaying the video of her mother again and again in her mind. Her mother had looked so happy. She'd never seen that face before. She'd never known she had that missing piece. Her phone chimed again. Another unknown number. She sighed angrily and grabbed it, then froze. This wasn't a message. It was an email alert. Hale Laboratories, DNA processing update. Her heart lurched. She opened it with trembling fingers. Your sample has been received. Results expected within 48 hours. 2 days. 2 days until everything changed or everything collapsed. Her throat tightened. She threw the phone aside and curled into a ball. She didn't know how long she cried, but at some point, she drifted into a restless sleep. The next morning, she woke up late, groggy and dehydrated. She dragged herself into the bathroom and splashed her face with cold water. Her eyes were swollen. Her reflection looked older, worn out, like she'd aged years overnight. She tied her hair and stared at her necklace, a worthless trinket, a cheap copy, not the one her mother meant for her. That realization hurt far more than she expected. It made her feel robbed again, robbed of intention, of connection, of truth. Her phone buzzed. This time, it was Marcus. Are you safe? She blinked. Safe? She typed slowly. Why? He replied instantly. There's been movement. I need you to come to the tower today. Important. Elena frowned. What does that mean? She muttered to herself. Her first instinct was to ignore him. She didn't want to become tied to his world, to become dependent on his power or his money. But something in the back of her mind whispered that if she didn't go, she'd regret it. She grabbed her bag and headed out. Hale Tower security moved differently today. More guards, more scanning, more questions. They rushed her through the lobby and straight up to Marcus's private floor. When the elevator doors opened, she expected to see him waiting for her. He wasn't. Instead, she found a man she'd never seen before. A tall, pale, thin-faced man with sharp cheekbones and icy gray eyes. He wore a black suit but no tie. He looked like someone who didn't blink often. "Ms. Ward," he said, stepping forward. "I'm Clint Dorrance, head of Hale Security." Elna stiffened. "Where's Marcus?" "In a meeting," Clint replied, his expression unreadable. "He'll join you shortly." She didn't trust this man. Her instincts prickled sharply. Clint motioned toward a seat. She sat reluctantly. He remained standing, hands clasped behind his back. "We've identified the woman in the hospital footage," he said. Elena's pulse kicked. "Who is she?" "A former nurse," Clint said carefully. "A woman named Bridget Lyle." The name meant nothing to Elena. "Is she alive?" Elena asked. "Yes," Clint said. "But she's missing." Elena frowned. "Missing how?" He studied her for a moment, as if deciding how much truth she could handle. "We attempted to contact her last night. She had already left her residence. No note. No explanation. Surveillance shows she left with 2 large bags." Elena felt a chill creep up her neck. "She ran," Elena whispered. "Yes," Clint said. "And we need to know why." Before she could respond, Marcus entered the room, his face drawn tight with fatigue and anger. "Elena," he breathed, moving to her quickly. "Thank you for coming." She nodded stiffly. "Your message said it was important." He gestured for her to follow him to the adjoining office. Clint stepped aside and faded into the background like a shadow. Once the door closed behind them, Marcus turned to her. "Elena, we found something else." The room felt suddenly colder. "What?" she asked quietly. Marcus walked to his desk and picked up a document. He held it out but didn't release it when she reached for it. "Elena," he said gently, "before you read this, I need you to understand something. None of this is your fault. None of this changes who you are." Her heart began pounding painfully. "Marcus," she whispered, "just tell me." He handed her the paper. It was a copy of an old internal memo from the hospital. The letterhead was faded and gray. The date read March 14th, 1998, the day she was born. Her eyes moved down the page. Late night shift, infant post-delivery, unauthorized transfer, notes missing from chart. Witness account contradicts timeline. Staff, concern reported and dismissed. Possible cover. Her hand flew to her mouth. Her body trembled. "You're saying someone inside the hospital knew?" she asked, voice cracking. Marcus nodded slowly. "And more than one person suppressed the investigation." Her lungs tightened, making breathing feel impossible. She stepped back like the page itself burned her fingers. "Why?" she whispered. Marcus's jaw clenched. "Power, money, control. And I believe someone orchestrated your disappearance to destabilize me. It worked for years." Elena wrapped her arms around herself. "You think someone tried to destroy you by stealing a baby?" she asked, disbelief and horror mixing in her voice. "I know they did," he said. He turned and opened another folder. Elena saw the name on the first page and felt her stomach twist. Victoria Rowan. A woman who used to be Marcus's business partner. A woman with a reputation for being ruthless. A woman he'd once trusted with his company. "She resigned after Nicole's death," Marcus explained. "But I've long suspected she had a grudge. She hated my daughter, hated her success, hated her position as heir." Elena shook her head. "But that doesn't explain why someone would abandon me. Why not just—" She couldn't finish the sentence. Marcus did. "Why not kill you?" he said quietly. because that would have been too obvious. A death in a hospital leaves records. A disappearance leaves questions. And those questions destroyed my company's stability for years. Elena felt a heaviness settle into her bones. She lowered her voice. And what happens now? Marcus looked at her. Really looked at her. And she saw a mix of protectiveness and guilt she hadn't expected. Now, he said firmly, we uncover everything. Every lie. Every person involved. Every motive. And we bring them all to justice. Elena stared at him, emotion tightening her throat. She'd lived her whole life alone, believing she was unwanted. And now she was being told she had been the center of a decades-long conspiracy. She didn't know whether to scream or run. A knock on the door made her flinch. Clint stepped inside. "Mr. Hale," he said, "we have a situation." Marcus stiffened. "What now?" There was a break-in attempt at the lab handling the DNA sample. Elena's blood ran cold. "What?" she whispered. Clint nodded grimly. "Someone tried to access the samples. Security stopped them, but the individual escaped." Elena's hand flew to her chest. "They tried to destroy the test," she said, voice shaking. Clint's expression didn't change, but his silence was confirmation. Marcus moved to Elena instantly, his voice low but fierce. "I won't let anything happen to you. Do you understand?" She swallowed hard. "I don't think you can promise that," she whispered. Marcus didn't answer, because he knew she was right. This wasn't a mystery anymore. It was a war. And Elena had just become its center. Elena sat alone in the corner of Marcus's office, her knees pulled tight to her chest as she tried to process the words circling her mind like vultures. Break-in, DNA, missing nurse, cover-up. Every thought felt like a knife carving another line of fear into her ribs. Marcus paced the room with the restless energy of a man who could command an empire but couldn't control the one thing that mattered most. Clint stood near the door, speaking quietly into a headset, giving orders she couldn't hear. Every so often his eyes flicked toward her, calculating, studying, protective, or suspicious. She couldn't tell. She squeezed her hands together, forcing herself not to crumble. Marcus finally stopped pacing. "Elena," he said softly, "come here a moment." She stood slowly, legs stiff, and stepped toward him. His usually composed face looked tired, lined with a strain she'd never seen on him before. He lowered his voice. "From this moment, you're not moving alone." She blinked. "You mean, like security?" "Like protection," he corrected. "Full time." Elena's jaw tensed. "Marcus, I'm not a corporation. I'm not something you can assign a security detail to." "This isn't optional," he said firmly. The authority in his tone triggered anger she hadn't expected. For a moment it sparked white-hot behind her ribs. "You're not my father," she snapped. The room fell silent. Marcus's face didn't change, but the way his shoulders dropped told her the words hit him harder than she meant. "No," he said quietly. "I'm not. But I am the only family you have left. And someone out there is trying to erase you again." Her breath stilled. She hadn't realized how deeply the words cut until she saw how deeply they landed in him. Before she could respond, Clint stepped forward. "Mr. Hale," he said, "the intruder at the lab wasn't alone. Traffic cameras caught footage of a second vehicle circling the building before the attempt. Plates were switched, but we're still running heat signatures." Marcus's jaw flexed. "Is this Rowan's doing?" "We can't confirm yet," Clint said, "but she left the country last night." Elena shivered. "So she's running too?" Clint eyed her. "If she's involved, she's not running. She's positioning." Elena wrapped her arms around herself. "Positioning for what?" No one answered. Marcus exhaled a long, measured breath. "Clint, double the surveillance. Activate all internal lockdown protocols. And assign 2 agents to Elena immediately." Yes, sir, Clint said before stepping out. Marcus turned back to Elena, but she stepped away before he could say anything. I need air, she whispered, voice trembling. I can't breathe in here. Elena, he began. I'm not leaving the building, she said quickly. Just the balcony. He hesitated, then nodded. Take Lion with you. Lion, one of the younger guards, stepped into place beside her, silent but alert. She didn't protest. She didn't have the strength left to fight over details. She stepped onto the balcony and let the cold wind slap her cheeks. It felt grounding, almost punishing. Detroit sprawled below in gray winter tones, and she stared at it, wondering how the entire world could look exactly the same when hers had just been blown apart. Lion stood a few feet away, pretending not to watch her, but clearly trained to observe every twitch of her body. She leaned forward on the railing, gripping the cold metal. She wanted answers. She wanted her mother. She wanted the childhood she never got. She wanted to scream until the city cracked open. Instead, she whispered, "Why me?" She didn't realize Marcus had followed until she heard the soft click of the door closing behind him. He didn't speak at first. He just stood beside her, hands in his pockets, staring at the city like he was trying to force it to give him answers. Elena, he said finally, I know this isn't fair. I know this isn't simple, but I promise you. She cut him off. Stop promising things you don't control. Marcus inhaled sharply. She didn't look at him. She couldn't. You've had this whole life, this whole empire, she said, voice tight. But I had nothing, Marcus. Nothing but strangers' houses and thin mattresses and the feeling that nobody wanted me. He stiffened. Do you know what that does to a child? She whispered. No, he said softly. But I know what losing a child does to a parent. She finally looked at him, their eyes locked. And for the first time, she didn't see the billionaire, the authority, the man who moved the world like it was machinery. She saw a father who cried alone in rooms no one entered. She saw a man who had buried both a daughter and 27 years of unanswered questions. Her voice dropped. I don't know what to do with you. Marcus nodded faintly. I don't know what to do with myself. For a moment, the wind swallowed the space between them. Then a distant sound, glass shattering, cut the moment clean in half. Lion rushed forward instantly, radio in hand. Shots fired! South entrance! Move! Move! Marcus grabbed Elena's arm. Inside! Now! He pulled her back into the office as guards flooded the hallways, shouting commands and slamming doors. Lights dimmed to emergency mode. The building shifted from luxury to fortress in seconds. What's happening? Elena cried, her heart pounding. Clint's voice boomed over the radio. Intruder near the staff garage. Suspect is armed. Keep Hale and Ward secured until sweep is complete. Elena pressed herself against the wall, chest heaving. Marcus stood in front of her like a shield. Minutes stretched like hours. Finally, Clint entered, breathing fast but composed. We got him. Alive? Marcus asked. Barely, Clint replied. Elena swallowed hard. What did he want? Clint hesitated. She hated that hesitation. Tell me, she demanded. Clint's eyes locked on hers. He had a photograph of you in his pocket. Her throat closed. What? She whispered. Clint stepped forward and placed a sealed evidence bag on the desk. Inside was a folded photo. Marcus opened it carefully. Elena saw her own face staring back, taken outside her apartment a few weeks ago. She recognized the angle, the lighting, the exact alley wall behind her. She felt her legs give out, and Marcus caught her before she slid to the floor. Clint cleared his throat. That's not all. He placed another bag beside the photo. Inside was a slip of paper, a handwritten note. Marcus unfolded it, and his breath stopped. Elena leaned closer, dread settling in her bones. The note read, You should have stayed lost. Her hands shook violently. Marcus crumpled the plastic bag in his fist. Clint's phone buzzed. He stepped aside, answered, then turned back grim-faced. "The intruder regained consciousness," he said. "He's asking for Elena." Her stomach flipped. "Why would he want me?" Clint's voice dropped. "Because he says he knows who took you." Marcus straightened. "Take us to him." Clint shook his head. "Only one of you. He refuses to talk if both are present." Elena stared at the floor, then lifted her chin slowly. "I'll go." Marcus grabbed her arm. "Absolutely not. That's insane." She turned to him, voice steady despite her trembling limbs. "Marcus, if this man knows who took me, I need to hear it, and you can't protect me from information." He opened his mouth but stopped. Because she was right. Clint studied her a long moment. "If you go, you won't be alone. I'll be in the room. 2 guards outside. The moment he twitches wrong, he's done. You have my word." Elena nodded. "Take me." Marcus's voice was low. "Elena, please be careful." She squeezed his hand, something she didn't expect herself to do. "I'll come back," she whispered. Then she followed Clint down the hall, past the armed guards and reinforced doors, into the depths of the building where the intruder waited with whatever truth he was holding like a blade. Her heartbeat became the only sound she could hear. The room smelled like antiseptic and sweat. The man lay on a cot, wrists cuffed, face bruised, breathing ragged. He opened one swollen eye when she entered. A painful smile cracked across his battered lips. "You came," he rasped. Elena stepped closer, though every instinct told her to run. "Tell me what you know," she whispered. The man coughed, blood bubbling at the corner of his mouth. "You were never supposed to survive," he said. Her chest tightened. "And the woman who took you." He laughed weakly. "She didn't want you dead. She wanted leverage." Elena leaned in. "Who?" she whispered. His smile widened. "The one who planned everything," he breathed. "The one Hale trusted most." Elena felt her pulse spike. "Victoria Rowan?" she guessed. He shook his head slowly, then he whispered a different name, one that made her knees buckle. Because it wasn't a stranger. It wasn't a villain from Marcus's past. It was someone she had never suspected. Someone Marcus would never suspect. Someone who had been close from the start. The man whispered the name again, and Clint's eyes widened. Elena staggered backward, her world tilting violently, because the name wasn't Victoria. It was the last name she ever expected to hear. The intruder whispered, "Marcus wasn't the target. You weren't the target either." Elena's breath hitched. "The real traitor," he said, "is someone inside Hale Tower right now." Then his eyes rolled back, and the monitor flatlined. The room erupted into chaos. But Elena didn't hear any of it, because in that moment she realized she wasn't caught between enemies. She was surrounded by them. The wind howled outside Westbridge General Hospital as Jamal stepped through the sliding doors, still soaked from the rain, still trembling from the chaos that had detonated at the board meeting. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, sharp and cold against his skin. Nurses moved quickly through the hallways, charts in hand, but everything around him felt distant, muted, like someone had placed him inside a soundproof glass box. All he could hear was Maya's voice, over and over again. "You call that courage? You call that protecting me?" He swallowed against the tightness in his throat and headed toward the pediatric wing, where Dr. Ramos told him she would be making her rounds. But as he approached the glass doors, he stopped mid-step. Maya was already there. She stood at the far end of the hall, staring through a window into a neonatal unit, where a nurse rocked a tiny infant barely a month old. Jamal froze. Her posture was rigid, her jaw clenched, her eyes red, swollen from crying. She didn't hear him approach. She didn't even blink when a doctor rushed past her with an emergency cart. She stood like a statue with a storm brewing inside. He stayed a few feet behind her, hesitating, unsure whether approaching her would make things worse. The last time he'd seen her, she'd looked at him like he was a stranger. No, worse, like he was part of the machine that had stolen everything from her. He inhaled quietly. Maya. She stiffened. Slowly, she turned her head. The exhaustion in her eyes sliced through him like a knife. But she didn't speak. She just watched him, emotionless. Jamal swallowed. Can we talk? Her eyes drifted back to the baby behind, the glass. Did you ever wonder what my parents thought when they left me at the fire station? Her voice came out so soft and brittle he almost missed it. Did they look back? Even once? He stepped closer. Maya, I never meant to. You didn't answer the question, she whispered. His throat tightened. I don't know, but I do know what your father thought when he discovered the truth. I saw it. I saw the way his world broke. I saw the way he kept glancing at the door, hoping you'd step through it. She shut her eyes for a long moment. Don't defend him. I'm not, he said. But you deserve the full picture, not the edited version you were forced to live with. Her breath shook, and she pressed her palm to the cold glass of the viewing window. That baby was born prematurely. Mother died during labor. No relatives. They'll put her in foster care by next week. The words hit him harder than any boardroom confrontation ever could. She lowered her head. I know exactly how that crib smells. I know exactly how alone she's going to feel. Not for a day. Not for a month. For years. Jamal gently touched her shoulder. She didn't pull away this time. You're not responsible for every child the system fails, he murmured. But I was one of them, she whispered. And if I don't fight back, really fight back, then what was the point of surviving any of it? She turned toward him at last, meeting his gaze directly. I want to tell my story, Jamal. All of it. He blinked. On camera? Every detail, she said. Not just for me, for every kid like that little girl in there. And I'm done hiding, done following other people's rules. If someone tries to silence me again, they can try, but they won't win. He stared at her, a mix of awe and fear swirling inside him. Then I'll help you. Her voice sharpened. I don't need a hero. He shook his head. I'm not trying to be one, I just want to stand beside you. That's all. For the first time in hours, something softened in her eyes, but that fragile peace shattered instantly when footsteps echoed behind them. They turned. Victoria Caldwell walked down the hallway with the stiff confidence of someone who had never been told no in her life. Only this time, her expensive suit was rumpled, her makeup smudged, and her eyes wild with desperation. Maya, she breathed out, almost stumbling as she approached. Please, please wait. Maya's entire body tensed. No. But Victoria wasn't listening. Tears streaked down her face as she reached forward like someone drowning reaching for a rope. Just listen to me. I've heard enough, Maya said, stepping back. I didn't know the full truth, Victoria cried, voice cracking. Your father hid things from me. I only ever saw the paperwork, not what really happened. I never knew you were abandoned. I thought you were... Not my problem, Maya cut in sharply. It is your problem. Victoria's voice rose. You destroyed my life today. You stripped me of everything. My name is ruined. My son refuses to speak to me. My husband... You ruined yourself, Maya said coldly. That baby you left in that neocare room? That was me. Not paperwork. Not a mistake. Not some inconvenient detail you could erase. Me. Victoria's hand flew to her mouth as though someone had punched her. Jamal stepped closer to Maya. Victoria's eyes darted between them, frantic. You have to forgive me, she whispered. You have to. I can't. I can't live with this. Forgiveness is earned, Maya said. And you haven't even started. Victoria shook her head violently. I can change, Maya. I can help you. Your career, your foundation, anything. Just don't destroy me publicly. Maya stared at her. You're more afraid of humiliation than you ever were of the truth. That's why you lost everything. Then she stepped past her, walking down the hall. Victoria collapsed against the wall, sobbing. Jamal followed Maya in silence, neither of them speaking until they reached the parking lot. Rain drizzled lightly now, softening the pavement and making the streetlights shimmer. Maya opened her car door, then paused. You're coming with me, she said quietly. He blinked, startled. Where? To the place where all of this started. The detour came an hour later after a silent drive through Westbridge's industrial district. Maya pulled up to a small fire station, Station 14, its red brick facade lit by the soft glow of an overhead lamp. The night was calm now, the storm moving east, leaving behind the smell of wet asphalt and pine. She stepped out slowly, staring at the old building as though it held ghosts. This is where they left me, she whispered. Jamal joined her without saying a word. She walked toward the front steps, tracing her fingers along the metal railing. Captain Flores told me once that I was wrapped in a thin hospital blanket. No note, no name, just dropped off. The pain in her voice tightened something in Jamal's chest. I used to imagine that my mother cried when she walked away. She continued softly. Or that my father tried to come back for me, but it was a lie I told myself so I wouldn't break. Jamal exhaled slowly. Maybe you don't need that lie anymore. She looked at him then, really looked, as though seeing him clearly for the first time since the board meeting. I'm tired, she whispered. Tired of pretending I'm fine. Tired of being strong every second of every day. You don't have to be, he murmured. Her voice cracked. I don't know how to not be. He stepped forward, hesitating only a moment before gently pulling her into his arms. She didn't resist. She melted into him like someone who had finally run out of places to hide. Her breath trembled against his chest. Everything hurts. I know, he whispered. But you're not alone anymore. They stayed like that for a long time, wrapped in the quiet of the night, the fire station's old neon sign flickering above them. Finally, Maya pulled back, wiping her eyes. We're going to finish this. All of it. My story, the lawsuit, the reform bill. And we're going to make every hospital in this town terrified to ever harm another child again. Jamal nodded. Whatever you need, I'm in. But Maya wasn't done. And when the video drops, she added firmly, don't forget to tell viewers to subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment "cat" so the algorithm pushes it. I want this story everywhere. He laughed softly despite the heaviness around them. You're really thinking about YouTube strategy right now? She shrugged. If my pain is going to mean something, then it better go viral. They started back toward the car, walking side by side, the night breeze brushing softly against them. But just as Maya reached for the door handle, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She frowned, answered, and froze. A distorted voice said only 3 words before the line went dead. You weren't supposed to survive. Her blood ran cold. Jamal immediately saw the terror in her eyes. What happened? Maya's lips parted, but no sound came out. Then finally, in a shaken whisper, Someone doesn't want the truth coming out. Jamal took the phone from Maya's trembling hand and stared at the screen, his jaw tightening as he replayed her expression over the last 5 seconds. Shock, fear, disbelief. He'd never seen her look like that before, not even when her entire identity shattered in a corporate boardroom. This was different. This was primal. Maya, What did they say? He asked gently. She swallowed hard, the words stuck in her throat. They said I wasn't supposed to survive. Jamal's breath hitched. The parking lot felt suddenly colder, emptier, too exposed. The streetlights flickered overhead, shadows stretching and folding like something alive. Get in the car, he said immediately. Maya didn't argue. She climbed into the passenger seat while Jamal rushed around to the driver's side, scanning the area before locking the doors the second he got in. His heart hammered as he started the engine. Was the voice familiar? He asked, pulling onto the road. No, she whispered. It was processed, like run through some kind of scrambler. Threatening you won't make you back down, he said, trying to sound confident even though fear scraped at his ribs. It's not just about me anymore, she murmured, staring through the windshield but seeing nothing. It's about my story going public. Someone doesn't want that to happen. Jamal gripped the steering wheel. Which means we release it. She turned to him sharply. What? If someone's trying to silence you, Maya, then the only protection you have now is visibility. People only kill stories when they think they can get away with it. Her pulse quickened. Jamal, are you saying? I'm saying you're not stopping, he cut in. Not now. She looked out at the dark highway stretching ahead of them, the world feeling suddenly vast and dangerous. I thought the worst part was learning who I was. But now I'm starting to think the worst part is everything that comes after. Jamal reached over and squeezed her hand. You're not facing any of it alone. She didn't reply, but she didn't pull her hand away either. They drove in silence for several minutes. The storm clouds finally drifted apart, letting moonlight illuminate the slick pavement. Maya stared at the passing trees, the blurred headlights, the ghostly shimmer of rain on glass. Then she whispered, "Take me home." Jamal nodded. When they pulled into her apartment complex, they both scanned the area twice before getting out. The night felt different now, dangerous, pulsing with unseen tension. Jamal insisted on walking her to the door. She didn't argue. Her hands shook too much for her to even fit her key into the lock. He gently steadied her hand. When the door opened, she stepped into her dim living room and exhaled shakily. You can go. I don't want to drag you deeper into this. Too late, he said softly. I'm already in. She turned to him, eyes glistening with fear and gratitude. Jamal, what if this spirals? What if someone tries something? Then they'll have to go through me first. The way he said it, quiet but steady, made something in her chest twist. But before she could reply, his phone vibrated. He checked the screen. Unknown number. Jamal frowned. It's probably the same person. But when he answered, a familiar voice exploded through the speaker, panicked and trembling. Jamal? It's Victoria. Maya stiffened instantly. He put the phone on speaker. Victoria's voice cracked. Someone broke into my house. I don't know who. They trashed everything. They were looking for documents, files, anything. I hid in the bathroom for 2 hours until they left. Maya's breath froze. Victoria sobbed. They left a message, on my wall, in black marker. Jamal forced his voice steady. What did it say? There was a long, shaky breath. Silence her. Maya's stomach dropped. Victoria continued, frantic. I thought it was about me at first, but then I realized it's about her. They want her quiet. They want her story buried. They want... The call cut sharply. Victoria? Jamal barked. Victoria! Nothing. The line went dead. Maya pressed a hand to her forehead as dread crawled up her spine. This is bigger than a hospital mistake, bigger than a board cover-up. Jamal nodded slowly. Someone doesn't want the world knowing what happened to you, or to other kids. Maya collapsed onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. I don't even know who my enemies are anymore. You don't need to, he said. You just need to keep going. She looked up at him, her voice raw. I'm scared, Jamal. I know, he murmured, but I'm right here. For a long moment they simply sat together, the silence heavy with everything unspoken. Then Maya straightened suddenly. I'm recording the video tonight. He blinked. Now? Yes. Before anything else can happen. Before someone else tries to stop me. Jamal hesitated. Are you sure you want to do this when you're... I've been silenced my entire life, she said fiercely. Not anymore. He nodded. Then let's do it right. They set up her living room with soft lighting, her laptop positioned across from where she sat on the couch. Jamal adjusted the brightness until it felt intimate but powerful. Maya brushed her hair behind her ear, trying to calm her racing heartbeat. She looked nervous, but also determined. You ready? Jamal asked gently. Maya inhaled deeply, releasing it with a trembling exhale. Yeah. He hit record. She stared into the camera, the silence stretching for several seconds before she spoke, her voice soft but steady. My name is Maya Robinson. I was abandoned at a fire station when I was barely a day old. And she told everything. Not just the polished version, not the sanitized script. The truth. The cold hospital room, the foster homes, the nights she cried into a mattress that smelled like bleach, the board meeting, the DNA test. The moment she realized the world had lied to her, her voice cracked at times, but she didn't break. She kept going, revealing the secrets that powerful people wanted buried forever. Jamal watched from behind the camera, stunned by her strength. Near the end, she looked straight into the lens and said, If you're watching this, comment cat. So the algorithm pushes it. Like, share, and subscribe. This isn't entertainment. This is survival. And someone tried to stop this story from being told. But I'm still here. Her voice hardened. And I won't be silent anymore. When she finished, she collapsed back into the couch, exhausted. Jamal sat beside her. You did it. She nodded slowly, tears slipping down her cheeks. I don't know if I feel relieved or terrified. Both, he whispered. That's normal. She looked at him then, something fragile and real in her eyes. Thank you for staying. He didn't speak. He simply pulled her gently into his chest. She didn't resist. After several long minutes, Maya whispered, Can you stay? Just for tonight? He brushed his thumb along her cheek. I'm not going anywhere. The next morning, sunlight cut through the curtains in thin golden lines. Maya stirred awake on the couch, her head resting against Jamal's shoulder. He blinked tiredly, stretching. You okay? He asked softly. She nodded, but before she could reply, her phone buzzed. A notification. Then another. And another. She grabbed the phone, eyes widening as she scrolled. Jamal. The video. Already at 112,000 views, comments flooding in, shares doubling by the minute. The algorithm had picked it up instantly. He stared at the screen. It's going viral. Maya covered her mouth with her hand, overwhelmed. I didn't think... But before she could finish, a new notification appeared. A message request. From a private account. 4 words that froze her heart. We're coming for you. Maya's pulse spiked. Jamal grabbed the phone. Pack your things. We're leaving. Now. But where? Somewhere safe, he said firmly. We're not letting them get to you. As they rushed through the apartment gathering essentials, Maya's mind raced. Fear clawed at her throat. But beneath it, beneath the trembling and panic, was something sharper. Something stronger. She wasn't going to run forever. When she reached the doorway, she paused, looking back at the apartment, the life she'd built, the girl she used to be. Then she whispered to herself, no more hiding. She stepped into the hall. Jamal locked the door behind them. They hurried down the stairs, their footsteps echoing through the building. But halfway to the parking lot, Maya froze. A black SUV was parked by the curb. Engine running. Windows tinted. Jamal grabbed her arm, pulling her back. "Get behind me." The driver door opened slowly. A tall figure stepped out. Maya held her breath. But when the man removed his hood, she nearly collapsed with relief. It was Marcus Caldwell, her half-brother. He raised both hands. "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to get you somewhere safe." Jamal narrowed his eyes. "Why should we trust you?" Marcus exhaled, looking directly at Maya. "Because someone in the company wants you dead, and it's not who you think." Maya's stomach twisted. "Then who?" she whispered. Marcus walked closer, lowering his voice. "The person behind all of this. The one who orchestrated your disappearance. The one who stole you from the hospital." Maya's heart pounded violently. Marcus met her eyes, face hardening. "It was your grandfather." The world tilted. Maya swayed, gripping the railing. "Why?" she choked out. Marcus stepped closer. "Because you were never supposed to inherit anything." Jamal's breath froze. Maya stared at Marcus, trembling. "Take me to him." "Maya," Jamal warned. "No," she said fiercely, lifting her chin. "I'm done running." Her voice shook, but it didn't break. "This ends today." Marcus nodded grimly. "Then get in the car." Maya took one last breath, gripping Jamal's hand. "Let's finish this." They got into the SUV, the doors shut. The engine roared, and as they pulled onto the highway, Maya realized something powerful, terrifying but liberating. She wasn't surviving anymore. She was fighting back. And this time, the whole world was watching.